Thank you so very much for joining us today. There's some really fun stuff going on right now. I'm trying to write a LinkedIn article about every week now, and I've got all these drafts in my head, so I can't actually think if I've written this one out and I published it or not. But there's so much noise going on in AI right now, so much noise in technology. Things are moving so very fast, and something in the space that I've been in for quite a while here is SharePoint. Now, this idea around Copilot and SharePoint, which maybe you're all saying like, oh, okay, what is that? Is it literally just Copilot now in SharePoint? And no, it's not. It actually comes from a long litany of naming changes from AI in SharePoint to SharePoint Premium to syntax. It's this evolution of AI that is making its way into SharePoint. And so the point of this today is to really just try to cut through all of this. What is this? What's this whole Copilot in SharePoint? How does it work? There's like these two Copilot-y buttons in SharePoint. What does that mean? And what are the features there? And like, how do I separate all of this from the hype? Because all this buzz is out there. There's all this promises of AI. I saw this really great infographic today saying agentic AI is saving the enterprise in all these ways. I'm on the front lines of that. I'm going to just make the claim that's a lie right now. Yes, maybe at the $100 million kind of level, some really cool things are happening in AI, but like agentic AI running enterprise organizations, no, they help out for sure. So there's just so much hype. So really, let's go down to some low-level stuff. We're using SharePoint. What's this whole AI in SharePoint, and what is it that we can do with it? So the big walk-away today, what I really hope you get out of this is that you'll have a better understanding of what Copilot and SharePoint actually is, how it can help you day-to-day, what's hype, what's not, what can you use today, what might things that I think you should be looking at, but you may want to be able to hold off. And just really get a better understanding of this whole AI in SharePoint promise. Quick little intro to Creospark so that you know what we do. It's my little 30-second pitch here. We were founded a little while ago. We're a good-sized team, really helping organizations such as you all adopt the Microsoft technology. We've got over 750 customers we've worked with, public sector, healthcare, legal, nonprofit. We've got a great team. I really love my team. We have a great team. We have a handful of MVPs, including myself. Just renewed. I'll get to that in a second. But what you're hearing today is accumulation of our overall experience that we've had over the years working with Microsoft, working with SharePoint, working with AI. I've got a lot of other experiences in Fabric and Well that I'd like to share, and those are things that we handle that we are more than happy to help you with, because really what we want to help you all do is understand and utilize the Microsoft licensing, what you're paying to Microsoft. We want to help you get a better ROI out of that because your organization needs those tools. So if it's Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, of course now Copilot, we're here to help you. We look to help secure cloud environments, which has become so much more important in the world of AI because of what that can do. Working in the Power Platform, Dynamics, data platforms like Power BI and Fabric, which is one of my new loves that I really enjoy playing with. We're here to help you. We'd like to talk to you if you do get stuck or anything. My goal through the rest of this content, though, at this point is to basically give you what we do. So there's no pitch at the end, like everything you heard, you must go to Creospark to now utilize. No. Like hopefully you'll go and play with this and use it. But if you're looking to accelerate your adoption or to understand more, we're definitely here to help you. Quick housekeeping. Let's see, there's a Q&A panel in this webinar. The catch is because now that I have to share my screen in multiple ways, I can't see the Q&A panel. So I will get to those questions as quick as I can. I might just flip away because Prem is here on my team to help me. I might just flip when he's doing some stuff. We have a webinar giveaway at the end of this. We are recording this. You will get a recording of today's session. We have additional resources and materials. So if you don't capture something, we will be getting that out to you. And there is a small survey and giveaway at the end. So, please stick around, ask those questions. A lot of the material, you could probably just nowadays go to Copilot and say, explain Copilot and SharePoint, and you're going to get an answer. I'm not giving you an AI answer. I'm giving you the answer that I have found by working with AI in SharePoint when it was back in the syntax days, all the way up to today. So I believe more strongly in my answer than what you're going to get out of Copilot or Claude or something like that. Quick little intro to me, and then we'll get straight into our real stuff. I've been doing this for a little bit a while. My name is Eric Overfield, the CIO of Creospark. I am a Microsoft MVP, just renewed for my 11th year. I'm super excited. That happened about a week ago with a bunch of other people. That's in the Microsoft Copilot space and M365 development space. It goes back to my roots as a developer. I still like being in there, even though unfortunately I've kind of had to move upstream a little bit. Most of my coding nowadays is handled by Cloud Code, to be fair and direct. And for like a playground, it's great. I wouldn't sell my code that Claude creates for me, but I sure like playing with it and whatnot. So I do my best to stay in the front lines of all of this. Yeah, some really good stuff. All right, we're just running behind because I have lots to share. How I want to go through this today, let's talk about Copilot and SharePoint, why it matters, how it can help you, the big takeaways. What can you do now? What should you do now? What should you be really looking at? And what should you pay attention to, but you may want to wait a little bit or pilot it out before you roll it all out. I want to talk about some foundation to set that all up. And of course, what are your next steps? So really what I want, I want to ground us here in the beginning. The SharePoint itself has been this publishing layer for quite a while. A lot of us have probably been using it for a long time. It's a great place to publish pages, to store content. Though we've been using it for document lists and document libraries and lists and whatnot. People then go and they search for content, and it's kind of static. It's a publishing layer and whatnot. Well, Copilot and SharePoint, and if that's a new word for you or a new phraseology for you, this is the evolution of AI in SharePoint, is what it was called. At the end of last year, beginning of this year, it was called SharePoint Premium. Before the middle or end of last year, before that, it was it's called Syntax. It's gone through this name change, and it has evolved and changed greatly. There used to be, there still is, there's this piece behind it that is a lot of this pay-as-you-go sort of legacy AI that was non-generative AI. It was based on a different type of AI methodologies. And that has evolved now to Copilot and SharePoint. And from the outside, if you knew the history, you could see they look really, really different, but the old components are still there. And really, we're now focusing on the Copilot-enabled components, the generative AI components found within SharePoint now, because this really changes the whole platform. The legacy things are there. I'm not really going to highlight them too much just because they're not where Microsoft is clearly making the investment. They're making all of their investment in what Copilot and generative AI can do for us. And it's really changed what SharePoint as a platform can do. I mean, there's this new AI assistant that can help us create sites, pages, and libraries to help us create and generate that metadata I've been begging for you to create for, and not just me, for 20 years. And we all just say, oh, yeah, we buy these tools, we try these techniques. The metadata still doesn't get generated. We have tools now that make it much easier to just automatically create sophisticated metadata for our content. We can create lists, libraries, and views automatically now with Copilot in SharePoint, which is just super helpful. And this shift, I mean, it's really raising the bar of what it is that our intranet can do. And this is important. Stop on that. This is important of what our intranet can do, because Copilot, not Copilot and SharePoint, Copilot is grounded on our SharePoint data. It is grounded on the data that exists within our Microsoft tenant. If you don't care about AI touching your data and all you are is looking for an answer to some question, you don't necessarily need Copilot or the Copilot license. You could go to a free version of something like even the Copilot Personal. You could go to Claude or ChatGPT for free and just ask it. I don't know. I just found out there's going to be a new Riddick movie coming out. I could go ask it there. It doesn't matter what my data says on that. But if you care about really using AI in your organization, that's going to be where the AI can use your data. That data is going to live in SharePoint. Your intranet, however you build it, is going to become more important. We need to get better content out. I was going to say more. We'll get to that. Better content out quicker, more organized, with better metadata. And that is exactly where Copilot in SharePoint is able to really shine and help us be that much better. We could take Copilot and SharePoint, kind of loosely break it into these four pillars, these four capabilities that are mapped to people, personas, types of people who are using SharePoint every day. Now, the thing here is that you may be a content creator, a content manager, and a consumer. Totally agree with you. But you often are sitting in a role at a given moment when you're using your content. And this is where Copilot and SharePoint can sort of help with these different things. So creating for content creators, Copilot is there to help you build pages, sites, libraries, help you govern the documents that are being created faster. So the idea here is that people can spend less time, significant less time, setting things up and more time on the work itself. The more time attempting to actually create good content, not just trying to create it. Next, organize. This is all about for content managers. This is where Copilot can really help you create some of that metadata, the views, and the library structure so that it can make content, making content can be easier. That will then allow you to further the trust and the reuse capabilities that people would have in the content that's available and out there, really so that the good content doesn't get buried. There's the find and answer side. So this is really for the content consumer. Generally, for a long time, and we still have it, we use search. We go and search, let me go Google that for you. Well, most of us don't do that anymore. We're not saying that. And if we are, we're not using the Google search results. We're using the AI generated answer at the top. Now it's come down to, well, ChatGPT told me. That has a lot of loaded response to it. I get it, but it's there. So the thing is, though, is that Copilot and SharePoint can help our consumers understand and find and understand the content that is buried or found within our SharePoint site. This way, people don't have to dig through links. They can basically get a good or really good answer that has source material, that is pointing to the source so they can fact check, because we still know that AI is not right. And then finally, automate. Now, this is a big one for site managers. This is where you can help organize, create organizational rules and governance and repeatable AI-assisted work so that you can really enforce a structure and compliance, which is a big one, where you don't have to worry so much about manual work. So together, these four pillars really make up what it is that Copilot SharePoint can do. We got to dig right in here. So one of the things that you should be asking, of course, is like, how do I have to set this up? And I do want to create a practical breakpoint here, checkpoint here, which is we've got all this value. How are you going to get to it? Realistically, to get the access to the Copilot and SharePoint, your users need a Microsoft 365 Copilot license. That's really where Microsoft is pushing us. There is an hour's worth of subtlety here. And there is a pay-as-you-go mechanism available to you, but you really do need those licenses, and Microsoft is clearly pushing us there. We're looking for the value then, is let's prove the value of what Copilot can offer to our organization to show the ROI, and then help with adoption so that people are using these tools properly. Because if you're using Copilot properly, I would argue you're paying for that license on a daily basis and increased productivity. Don't worry about those 10x. I have 10x more productive because of AI. Those are these lofty, I'm going to work 16-hour days and I'm working mainly in code. For the rest of us, to me, there's a 2 to 3x productivity gain. Whereas if it used to take me 8 hours to build a document, it's taking me 4 now. If it used to take me 4 hours to build a site, now it's taking me 2. And that's not just because AI creates the site or document in 5 minutes. Great. No, it has to be fact checked. But you can get a really good structure fast, then you fact check it, and that takes you half the amount of time it used to take you. That is real gains. That doesn't mean you're going to necessarily get double the work done, but in a given day, but you are giving a productivity gain, which should show or could show that value. Now, SharePoint, Copilot and SharePoint is actually on by default, really. Once you get things basically set up, and good or bad, your IT admins might want to go in and change some of that. But this is Microsoft's just MO. They like to turn things on. So you really need a license. Against subtlety, we can go into that at some other time, but really that's how you get it, and it's basically turned on. Let's get right into these features then. There's a whole bunch of create experiences that are really useful in Copilot and SharePoint. The thing is like with most AI generated stuff, you really need good governance in place. You really need good training and adoption scenarios set up so that your users know what it is they're doing, and they don't just start letting AI go into this sprawl slop that AI is so good at doing. It's just overly helpful. So many of these side stories in my head that I could think about that people just aren't using AI right, and you've got to help your users understand what it can and can't do. The basic workflow here for creating sites is simple. You go into build, a site. I'm trying to show you the screenshot here, build in a site, and you can see there's this thing like, what do you want to build today? You literally just say in plain English, I'm going to say, but really most supported languages do work as far as I know here, is you describe the thing you're trying to build in natural language. I'm trying to build a site or solution in natural language that does this kind of thing. And Copilot will then propose a plan. This is super cool. It will say, hey, here's what I think we should build. This kind of site, these pages, these lists, these libraries, maybe even give you sample data. This is really useful. So you can go from that 0 to something working in like minutes. It's not going to be great normally, but it's going to be good and a really good starting point. And often I've found normally it helps you uncover things you hadn't even thought of, which is great. Now you then you edit and delete it. But often we're scared of that blank canvas of any solution, including SharePoint. This gets us past this by just using natural language. What is it that you're trying to do? The real catch is after all of this happens, though, it's not the AI. It's that if you make site creation so quick and you don't have any kind of life cycle rules in place or like ownership, so people just can create sites and like they're not really owned by anybody after that, you can really get this bad AI slop. And it's not AI's problem, it's the human problem. And so, it might be useful where you're setting up governance where who's owning these sites, you're requiring ownership requirements, and there's not an owner, you can use other tools within the Microsoft ecosystem to help you do that, so that you're building good content, you're building good sites and whatnot. So the message to your team, I think, really needs to be is you don't want to hear this whole like, well, it's just faster site creation, and then you go ahead and like, well, that just means turn everybody loose. The real win that I can see here is faster prototyping and setup with those guardrails you need to have. And so your governance is going to have to move at the same speed as the site creation in place. Great tool set, just watch the governance side. All right. Now, a lot of your content owners are not site owners. They're not going to be creating sites, but they do create pages. This is pages, and building pages in Copilot and SharePoint is where probably a lot of your users are going to really see the SharePoint AI solutions first, because it's right there, like, this idea, let's create a new page. And it's fast, and it is really cool. It speeds up. This ability to just use natural language to create pages really speeds up the ability. And it's even better when you have like good templates and like a clear design methodology in place for your organization. That way Copilot has some sort of structure to work with, and it's able to then draft the content, the layout, and the pages necessary more quickly and more consistently. If every page is always a custom one-off, then you're not going to provide a good experience for those that are using your pages. So AI and Copilot and SharePoint can sure help in the page creation process, but you really want to think this through. These are the kind of page templates and the page styling that we want to go with, so that you have these really strong patterns, because those stronger patterns are going to give you much bigger wins. All right, so I think this is another really useful feature to call out, which is around creating document libraries and using AI, using this natural language. And I think that this kind of really shows how far AI and Copilot has really come to help us be just more productive. And this is where you're able to basically take this blank repository, this list, this library that has really two fields, right? It just has like a title and a link, not much there. And you can really turn that into a true structured library without having to like rethink through what kind of columns am I going to need, or what should they be called. You basically just describe in plain language what's the purpose. Copilot that goes ahead and generates that library name, the description, the metadata schema for you. It helps set something up in a second called autofill columns, where your content can then get automatically tagged based on the content that you're adding. That's all using native SharePoint functionality, so that the library that's created for you can be edited like you normally would on any given site. So it's really useful. It's just creating it for you. So I think that there's a real big shift though that's underneath it, which is SharePoint is moving from the configuration driven that we used to do to really the purpose driven or the intent driven. What are you trying to do? And SharePoint will do that more for you, give you a plan, give you a schema that you could then go ahead and customize and take ownership with. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really good, useful a feature where you can build these things right, but if you really need to get like that structure right up front, and then everything downstream for that is going to get that much better. If we look so far at the creation side, because I'm going to move on to some document creation, but I want to sum up a little bit of what we've talked about here, where we've been creating sites, pages, and document libraries. This is where a lot of that content's going to live, that your Copilot experiences, not Copilot and SharePoint, but your Copilot experiences are going to provide the most value for your organization. And so getting these schemas and structures right is really important. And a lot of it is going to be the setup side of creating the governance and structure around for sites and page creation, for document libraries. It's going to be around teaching the people that are creating this how to better describe what they're looking for, but maybe in a minute or two, and then take what SharePoint, Copilot and SharePoint creates, validating it. You still need to use judgment. This is not something that you want untrained people using, because AI still creates some pretty good slop out there. This is another LinkedIn post or article that I've written about, which is how judgment is so important. And I put my stake in the ground. AI is not getting there anytime soon, if it ever. How many of you are hearing about AGI anymore? Like those three words or three letters are gone. We're finding what AI can and can't do, and what it is and is not good at, and the cost associated with it. I think token maxing, and then oh gosh, what's the new word? It was token limitation, or token optimization, I believe it was. Stuff's getting expensive. And so we really need to create really good structures for our content so that Copilot can get better answers to the people that are going to be consuming this stuff. Okay. Just a little bit more on the, so that was the create side. Now the contents, the organization side, and this is, you could argue, is still part of a create as well, but I look at it as the next thing. There's been a feature in Syntax in SharePoint Premium all the way through, and it was called modern templates or modern document templates. And the concept of this is that you would take a Word document that you already had, or you take a document you already had, and then you could turn it into a template, so that someone could then go in and create a new document, use that template as its template, and it would basically be, you'd be asked to just fill out these fields, provide these fields, and then the document would be created for you with those fields already filled out. So think like a lease or something like that, a buyer agreement or something like that. You just, you need a name, you need a property address, you need a rent amount, a deposit, whatever. You could just fill that out, and then your document would be created. And this would allow you to not have to do copy, paste, and then find all, and where you can make more mistakes. I find that this is a very underrated feature that people just haven't been using. And this is also where a licensing thing can get involved, where on the pay-as-you-go, this has been pay-as-you-go for a long time, it was a document creation price. But what I've been seeing here is, and I can't fact check all this, I've been trying, but because of the tenets I have, if you have a Copilot license, the structured document generation moved into Copilot and SharePoint allows you to do this at a much better cross basis. So where does this all mean? Where am I trying to get at now that I've given you a little bit of the history? The idea here is you take a Word template, a Word document you have, you're turning that into an AI-powered form. Someone would then go and fill out a form. They'd say they want to create a document. An AI-powered form would be created for them. They'd fill it out, and the values that were provided by the form that were pulled from the template you created using the Word doc, AI would go ahead, Copilot would go ahead and create a new Word document with the fields that they provided in the form automatically filled out into the Word document. This allows you to create those really standardized documents, those legal, finance, HR, sales, operation documents, like anywhere you would use in sort of the same Word doc again and again, you're just copying and pasting and whatnot, where you need it to be consistent, but the details change. This is where the structured document generation really comes into play. It's not too hard to set up. All of our links and resources are going to give you the whole walkthrough on this. I've done full day workshops on these kind of things, so it's hard for me to get into all the details. But if you're looking to standardize how documents are created and organize that structure, this is where Copilot and SharePoint can really shine. And it's something I just think is very underutilized out there. And it's because it's been around for quite a while. So another piece around the organization is around being able to fill in your metadata. Okay, I've been talking about this for a little. I've sort of been dancing around this. So let's spend a few minutes here. Back in the SharePoint Premium days, right when Copilot and Generative AI came out, one of the first things Microsoft did for SharePoint was add this whole idea, using Generative AI, was adding this whole autofill column feature. And this is really interesting, because it's attacking one of these really old problems that we've been begging you for 20 years to do, which is when you add content, documents, images, all that kind of stuff into a document library, sure, search can get to it. Sure, Copilot can kind of get into it and see what it is. But the best values if you can pull out the metadata, where you can structure what is this document's purpose, who is it related to, all kinds of things like that that might be buried in the content. But if you could highlight it, Copilot and search can use this much better, because no one likes to fill this stuff out. We've tried every way possible. Third-party tools have attempted to do it. It just doesn't work, you know? But search, view, automation, these all benefit when we have good metadata. So what happens is you create columns. You create a column, let's say. You tell it it's an autofill column, and you give it a prompt, a natural language prompt that says, pull out the organizational, I don't know, who's this document about? Like, just pull out, what kind of project is this for? You can even give it, like, use these 10 different ideas and just fill it in with one number. Is this document complete or not? Provide with a yes or no answer. It's just natural language. You know, if you were going to go to Copilot and just look at a document and you wanted some sort of result, some sort of response, you wanted to store that response on every document added, that's what the autofill column does. So this really is helping improve your organization, your discovery, all those automation scenarios that you might be thinking about. The thing is, this really then helps shift that conversation of, will people fill this out, to, okay, well, we just need to design the right schema in order for the metadata to get filled out for us automatically. Now, here's where it gets really, really fun, is when you use Copilot and SharePoint and basically the Copilot feature, and you can basically say, go create an autofill column for me, or look at the 5 documents that are in my document library, suggest autofill columns for me, present them here. Okay, great, go create them. That scenario works. I've done it. Now, it may not work for you at this moment, because I saw another LinkedIn article from a really good friend of mine, Asif Ramani, from Visual SP, and he was he did this public. He was showing Copilot and Excel and how great it is, and of course, Copilot and Excel in that scenario said, I don't know what you're talking about. He tried it right after that call, and all of a sudden it worked. You know, AI can be really fun sometimes. Sometimes you just need to take a break and go, okay, try it again, and it's going to work for you fine. But you can often have Copilot in SharePoint make your autofill columns for you, suggest them for you, and make them for you. You could then go and view them to see, did it capture your prompt correctly to help you fill out this metadata. This, to me, is an absolute no-brainer here on using this. Now, here's where the licensing can get tricky, and you want to be really careful here, and you're going to want to test this out. It used to be that autofill columns were 5 cents per document transcribed, per document that had autofill columns. And the scenario was it didn't matter how many autofill columns you had, it was just every document cost you 5 cents. Now, it looks to me like the scenario now is as if you are setting this up and you have a Copilot license. That seems to have gone away. I can't guarantee all of that, because it's hard for me to get my tenants set up to do this, because I just have such legacy tenants. Here's the catch, though. My belief, and I'm not a licensing expert, so you got to take this with lots of grains of salt, but a lot of this I do believe, because this is generally what we're telling our customers. If you create a document library that has autofill columns, that document library has autofill columns set up. If someone were to add a document to that document library and they don't have a Copilot license, my scenarios have been that document will get the autofill columns filled out. even though that licensed user doesn't have a Copilot license. Be very careful here, because I'm not giving you like legal advice. You really got to talk to some licensing experts, but this is my experience. If Microsoft were to audit you and they were to find out that someone added a document to a document library with autofill columns turned on, and that person doesn't have a license, you might get dinged. So I have to hedge. There's a lot of mights, but I want you to be very careful on your licensing here. There's the pay-as-you-go methodology. That still seems to be there as well, so that might capture this and whatnot. Just be really careful on your licensing here. If you're interested in learning more, like, this is where we can help you. Look at your scenarios. We'll look through the documentation with you. We'll help you set up some POCs to validate for your tenant what is happening, and then we'll give you the best advice possible, because you just got to be careful with licensing with Microsoft. We're seeing this over in other areas within SharePoint, within Purview, within other things, like when you're document tagging. That same thing can happen, is if a user adds something that gets auto tagged by Purview, and they don't have a license to Purview, they don't have some sort of license that gets them into it, it works. That I can tell you in Purview, it works. You're breaking your Microsoft license, and if they catch you, and we've unfortunately had customers that came to us who had gotten caught, they did it outside of what our recommendation, and it's a painful bill. So just be really careful there. So autofill columns, by the way, really good stuff, super cool. I'm excited by them. Been preaching about those for a couple of years now, because they've just been really powerful. Definitely worth looking at, and you'll see that at the end here. All right, well, let's keep moving forward. So views, flows from metadata. If creating views, like, that's really your payoff when metadata is actually working in the way that we've been talking about it. Metadata, it's out there helping you create those different signals. Views, though, can help make it actually usable and visible, because if you have lots of columns, which a lot of us do, a view can sift and filter down to the content that you actually need, of course, depending on what that view is. The thing is, with views can sometimes be odd and cumbersome to create. Yep, let's move away from the creation to the purpose. So Copilot here in SharePoint can help us create those custom document library views. Those views then can hide and show different columns. They can provide filtering and sorting, grouping, all that kind of stuff. But you get all of that just by describing what you want your view to do. You don't have to be a view expert. You can just tell Copilot in SharePoint, here's what it is that I want to do. Please go and create that view for me. And it does. It'll create that view. That view is a native view. It's not some magic behind the scenes that you don't have access to. It is just a view. It's just been configured for you. You can now tweak it and modify it. I'm very rarely creating anything from scratch anymore across anything that I do. I'm always going to Copilot, to Claude, to Copilot, to SharePoint. I'm letting it help me create that initial thing. Views are just the same thing. A lot of you probably know how to create a view. Still probably going to be a lot quicker to let Copilot, besides a very basic view. I mean, if you just want 3 columns, I get it. You just have to, how long does it take you to type something? But, so really good stuff that you can do here to create your own views. And it just seems to work real well. Let's move on to the automate side. So Copilot in SharePoint is, to me, really trying to make automation more accessible. Automation can sometimes be cumbersome from people. If you're from the Power Automate world, maybe not so much, but like you just don't know what to do. So Copilot in SharePoint can really help you take that natural language abilities that we've had in all the other features and apply that to the automation of our document libraries. So here's the idea here is in Copilot and SharePoint, you're describing what is it you want the library to do. Like, what is it that should happen in the document library if something were to happen, and in plain language, you're able to do this. Copilot can then make suggestions of, okay, well, here's the right workflow rule for you. Do you want me to go ahead and create that for you? Microsoft has given really some good examples here. Things around like emailing, moving, copying, or setting some sort of value or something like that, kind of like an autofill column. But when a document is updated, when it's renamed, if it's uploaded, if it's changed, whatever, do these things. Email someone out or move it into this folder. These are all scenarios that a good workflow expert should be able to do. But even then, it could take time to set all these things up. Copilot and SharePoint can help set that scaffolding up for you to validate and maybe extend if you need to. So really, the big headline here is that Copilot and SharePoint can help make the automation more accessible. You just don't need to be that workflow expert to be able to create the workflows. But governance still matters, still very important. This is not a replacement for that enterprise workflow governance or architecture that you've been hearing for a long time as well if you've been in this space. Like, this is just a great way for your business users to be able to handle those simple routine library processes without having to file a ticket every time they need something done, but you still do need the same governance on architecture that you had in the past. This is the approach that we use. This is where these things are going to be stored. This is how they're going to be owned and maintained. All super important. You can't just unleash any of the features I've said and just expect them to get used properly. Some other things you can do here. It's a little bit of a smaller capability, but still really cool. I want to call it out, and it's to me like a signal of maturity. Is really around monitoring the processing that happens. So when in a document library something is happening, there is a status field or processing status field that's available so that you can know as AI is working on your files, extracting metadata, things like that, or running automation. Your team could get the visibility into what's happening, because a lot of that happens, the automation, the backend components, the autofill columns, it happens behind the scenes. You're not seeing all of the sausage making occurring. And so the column that allows you to see what is being processed can really help so that you understand what's been worked on and what didn't work, why it might have failed. Instead of just trusting the black box that a lot of SharePoint AI really is. And so, it's something worth looking at. Okay. Now I get into some fun stuff. There's a few new things coming up here that I think are getting a lot of buzz, I think rightfully so, and they are really interesting. This is interesting. This is around SharePoint agents, and it's really a foundation-dependent feature set. SharePoint agents are basically like a custom agent, a Copilot agent tied into SharePoint. And agents themselves can do some really fascinating stuff. They can support your workflows, your projects. They can really support content discovery greatly, knowledge sharing. The thing is that SharePoint agents are natively designed to be grounded in your SharePoint content at its core. So this isn't going over into Microsoft AI Foundry. This isn't going into Copilot Studio and like pointing an agent to your SharePoint content. This is a native, grounded, built-in directly into SharePoint. And by the way, a SharePoint agent can be customized in Copilot Studio. That's beside the point. This is something that is just native now into SharePoint. And the thing is that every SharePoint site now that you create, every document library, it already comes with a ready-made agent out of the box. It's already there. Now, you need to have a Copilot license to see it that we've talked about, but it's already there. And anybody with edit permissions to a given site, this is good or bad, by the way, can create a custom agent for more specific purposes, then share them out and use them. So that's interesting. So good, but while agents can really make the quality, the thing is that the agents, they really can make the quality of your content and the permissions you set very visible very fast, because of the way just Copilot works in general. But now with a SharePoint agent really tied to your SharePoint content, the only thing I'm going to see with a SharePoint agent is what I have access to, period. But everything I have access to now grounded to that certain. So for a site agent, it's just scoped to that site, but now I have access to it. And if that content is messy, if it's duplicated, if permissions hasn't been set up, there's oversharing going on, or maybe I didn't have permissions, but I was supposed to, that agent is going to surface that really, really fast. So I have access to a site. You broke that permission, so I don't have access to the document library. You forgot, you thought I did. You tell me go to that SharePoint agent to go get it, and I find I'm not getting the answer I expect. You expect me to have it because the data is there. You broke permissions. I don't have access to it, so I don't get to see the results from that. Or vice versa. You thought you hit something and you didn't, and now all of a sudden I have access to data I'm not supposed to. So that's really interesting here. So SharePoint agents, I think they're really compelling because they can produce really good answers really fast based on the content within your SharePoint site. but there also can be really brutally honest about the content you have, the content quality. Things like duplication, ownership, permissions, the scope of the content, that kind of thing. So really cool feature about having native AI chatting functionality such as Copilot, native within SharePoint, not just a Copilot in SharePoint, but really like a Copilot within SharePoint, not Copilot in SharePoint. That's more like the feature set. It's the Copilot button in the ribbon up at the sweep bar at the top right. You're seeing that in the screenshot here, which is different than the Copilot icon in the lower right hand corner at this time. Now, I'm not giving anything away. Like, did Eric just give away something? No, I didn't, because I don't know. But there's currently like 2 ways to interact with Copilot within SharePoint, and that can be a little confusing. Your SharePoint agents is the one really found at the top of the screen at this point, where you can go into SharePoint agents, you can create new ones, you can switch to different SharePoint agents, which have already been pre-grounded to the content within the SharePoint documents, lists, libraries, content, etc. you have pointed it to. Okay. Last big feature set, and then I'm going to start summing a lot of this up because we really have gotten to the core of what Copilot in SharePoint is. Skills is interesting. This is really fun. This is really cool. This is a feature that I have a lot of interest in, but I think this right now is more of a watch and pilot. I'd be careful rolling this out. And that being said, I have a lot to share. I'm going to share this here. Okay, first of all, what is a skill? A skill, the whole point of these skills is basically you can create some repeatable instructions within SharePoint. So every given SharePoint site, and this is scoped to the SharePoint site right now, you can create a skill which says, hey, when I ask you to do this thing, go ahead and do that. So you're telling it what it is that you want to do. This is not automation. This is when you go into Copilot and SharePoint and into basically Copilot, you can then say, hey, look, I want you to be able to do a repeatable thing. Cool. Very interesting. Right now, the skills can be created kind of by anybody with edit access to the site. And there really isn't too much governance around them yet. And there really isn't like a way to review them. There really isn't a way to control where they're being used. I expect these gaps to be solved very soon. My belief is what I see visually, Microsoft's putting a lot of emphasis behind this, and I like the idea. We've been playing with this a lot. So there is, and this will be in our show notes for you. There's a lot of chatter going on in LinkedIn and on social media about one of my fellow RDs, his name is Gokin, great guy. He's been working on providing a bunch of roll-up skills for SharePoint and really been helping spearhead the community involvement with SharePoint skills. He came and interviewed us and a couple of the students that we have involved on our team because we're trying to really stay at the forefront, and I do think we're on the bleeding edge here at Creospark on skills. They're really cool. I love them. I think they're great. That being said, I have found that sometimes they can be hard to activate. They can be a little frustrating. So this is where I really want you to be paying attention to this, because I do think your users are going to be asking for them. Just be careful right now about rolling it out to production, saying, all right, everybody, go build your skills and let's have at it. Very promising. I just would have some guardrails on it. So very cool stuff that, yeah, good. Okay, so I want to start sort of summing this up because I've given you all the major features. I've got a few minutes left. So really, what's your maturity model looking like here? What's this actually, how would I start pushing you down your journey here with Copilot and SharePoint? I kind of want to give you some structure to this conversation because right now all of the chatter that I hear is talking about agents and skills. Totally get it, but there's a lot more to it than that. So each level really builds on top of itself. Using Copilot and SharePoint to build the best content, because content still matters. I do hear chatter talk about people saying, oh, are intranets really needed? I believe they're strongly needed because you need the trusted, curated content. But you can now use Copilot and SharePoint to get that content created quicker. You can use skills to help you. I know that's longer down. You can use skills and other AI tools to help you understand the content that you have to help make it even better. This is still the foundation of AI, and AI will fail for you if you give it bad data, if you give it bad grounding content, if it doesn't know your policies and procedures, you're going to get some really weird, bad answers, really, really bad. So level 2, once you can get like good, accurate, owned data and have Copilot and SharePoint help you, now you want to look at making it useful data by adding in that extra metadata. Does SharePoint, does the content know how it's supposed to be useful, how it can be consistent? Providing a descriptive column set metadata that helps you describe what that content can do to make it more valuable. Step 3, level 3, going a little more sophisticated here, is building those views, using Copilot and SharePoint to build custom views. Because they're creating content, by the way, I mean, that's creating sites, creating document libraries, creating pages, all that creation side. Is a great place to start, kind of easy, set those guardrails, etc. Metadata on top of that. Now, views and workflows, great. Views you could maybe put in the content, but I think that views make more sense when you have good metadata, which is based on good content. And definitely the workflows, you need the good content and the metadata to make workflows work, but you can use Copilot and SharePoint to help you turn your lists and libraries into something that's more operational on its own, which can be really useful. That's where I then start to get to what I showed here is that level 4 and level 5 is really around agents. And now you've got agents already, but they're going to be most useful when you have really good content that has good metadata, that has good ways for humans to be able to interact with that data, that has a good operational model around automation set on top of it. Your agents can now be significantly more important to give you really good scoped, much better trusted answers to people's requests, people's searches, what it is that people are trying to do with it. I'm sure a lot of you are jumping into SharePoint agents already because they're kind of on and it's just a more scoped SharePoint. I get it, but that does better when you've got the other 3 levels really set up and you've really utilized Copilot SharePoint to deliver that. Finally, skills. This is really good to have repeatable AI-enabled processes. I would just be a little careful on rolling them out. There's a lot of effort right now by the skills team to get this pushed into our hands and to get it into full GA and have everyone using it. I'm fully on board. I just think there's a few gaps that could be solved, but it is useful. We're using it today. We are in our organization, so definitely pay attention, play with it, use it, get it out in maybe certain people's hands and say, hey, here's how you can use it and whatnot. They're creating a skills library within SharePoint. This is no NDA stuff. This is stuff that's been out there. These are the kind of tools that I think will help make skills really usable because skill discovery can be challenging. Skill ownership and skill visibility can make it challenging. No insights because I have no proof of this, but if we look at like Agent 365 as a tool to help us manage all of our agents, wouldn't it be really cool if we had a skills added into that or a skill 365? Please don't add another SKU, Microsoft, but some way that an admin can understand all the skills that are out there to help for lots of reasons and whatnot. So, I think that it's best if you don't skip all the way to step 4, step 5 to agents until they can be trusted. Use Copilot and SharePoint to build the better foundation of knowledge and content, and I think you'll have a better success. So what's useful now? I think I've talked about it. Steps 1, 2, and 3 really. That's going to be the autofill columns, lists, libraries, page creation, things like that. Things that those are kind of no-brainers. I would just set up because they're useful. Depending upon how you are, I would look at the creating sites at scale, the automated workflows, agents, things like that. The things that I would wait just a little bit or that you can wait is like true full org agent rollout. You can, but I would prefer you focus on the other things first if you have limited time and budget. Unmanaged skills could get really challenging. I would suggest you wait on that. Advanced automation, like really sophisticated stuff, maybe, basically it's like anything that's going to require that you had good content first, I argue could probably wait. So, I really am getting to the wrap up here. We've gone through a lot of the capabilities here. So, what is it that we're trying to take away? What's all this really depend upon? And I keep saying it a lot, content quality. I've been talking about content, but your content quality still matters. Your content needs to be accurate. It needs to be current. It needs to be in good language. I would have said English, but I know it's not a lot of non-English organizations, non-English speakers. So it needs to have a good human oversight to validate, even if AI created it, that it was right. That's not duplicated, that the old stuff has been moved away, maybe Purview turns it off or hides it, or puts it in a backup or something like that. Information architecture is set. You have a really good structure to your libraries, your metadata, the templates, the different views that you use. This is going to help AI understand your data better, because really that's what this all comes down to, in my opinion, is AI is going to be the tool on top of all this. We're trying to, as the SharePoint owners, make this even better for us. So let's look at sort of my takeaway there at the bottom, which is AI is not, it's not this magic fix for you that if you have bad, messy, ugly data, AI is not going to magically just make it better without touching it. You can use it to help you structure it, but if you keep bad, messy data in your intranet, it's just going to be bad all around. It's just not going to work for you. So, what can you do next? Well, let's go to that high value content area that you know is being used. Let AI help you there. Use all that I've talked about. Go ahead then and create and improve the metadata for maybe those lists and libraries that you might have, the document libraries that provides the majority of the data. So I'm thinking here like, common scenarios, HR, IT portals, 2 good portals that people need all the time in every org. Make those look really good if you haven't already. Work on some views, make the lists and libraries better so that people can consume the list, because sometimes we do need list data. Then I would look at piloting, an agent, maybe play with skills at the IT level, at a higher ownership level, rather than just handing it out to the masses, so that you know what it can do and you feel comfortable with it. These are really, to me, those next best steps that you can do. So much noise that we can cut back to. So, what does this mean for you? Every day is getting louder, isn't it? I should think it is. It's hard. If you're focusing here on the SharePoint side, the Copilot and SharePoint side, I do expect some good increases and improvements from Copilot and SharePoint. It's going to help make things move faster, but do pay attention to it. The true value of all of this is going to be from our SharePoint owners when you really have your good content and metadata set. Use Copilot and SharePoint to finally start to solve those problems we've been talking about. Set it up once right, and you're going to be good to go. If you want to roll out the really cool stuff, you better look at that governance, because you might have a real mess on your hand, that real AI slop. And really here, don't rebuild. I wouldn't, not unless you really, really, really have to. This is a great time to improve what you currently have. All right, so I'm running out of time, so I kind of will let you quickly read this stuff here. Copilot SharePoint is going to be much better than search. The foundation of your content really is going to drive the true capability, the true output you're going to get from this whole thing. You don't need to turn all this on. Copilot and SharePoint is a broad term, lots of features. Look at the ones that are most important to you. And then really try to start with one clean thing, and I think you'll have a lot better. I've alluded to this. There's a whole SharePoint AI skills library that's been produced out there. We'll give you the link after all of this. You could also just Google it. This was something that Go can put together and that we are a part of. So if you really are looking to play with the skills and whatnot, and you want to see how all this works, we've got that for you. So really good stuff. We'll give you those links, and you can find it and go from there. I know you got plenty of questions. I'll get to those here shortly. If not, I'm going to somehow find a way to get you. I'll take all the questions, I'll provide answers, and they'll get sent out to you at all. So please do ask them. That's really important. We do have our webinar survey giveaway. So please do. I'll leave this up on the screen, and if you don't get it, you can always ping us later, and it will be there for you. So please tell us how we did. I love the materials, love the stuff. I know I speak quick. That is my style. I could probably talk for another hour or two without even trying, just because so much things I love to share and whatnot. So good stuff. We're out of time, so here's what we're going to do. I think generally we need to close this up, but I'm going to look to see if there's any other questions that came in. No. I will get the answer to the question I saw. Thank you all so very much. Prem, on my team, anything else to say in closing, or are we good to go?
We're good to go. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. We'll get you the recording, the show notes, all that fun stuff. And yeah, let's keep doing cool stuff with SharePoint. Bye, everybody.